Were you swimming there? So, welcome to everyone. I'm so excited because we have a superstar with us today, Lucy. And Lucy is going to help us understand what makes her new school so cool. School is cool. We can make a button with that, Lucy. So I want to welcome everybody to this episode of The Art of Advocacy. And today we have two special guests. Lucy is the star, and she also brought her mom along. And her mom, Abby, I've known for, I don't know, Abby, it seems like a long time, from the Trailblazer group to our Connecting for Change group now. Um, and I've known Abby and just the leader that she has been for inclusive education, speaking up for all kids. She's, in the past been a leader on the school district special ed accountability committee. She's done a lot of advocating for her own daughter and for other students. So today's show is kind of a poignant moment where we look at, as parents, it's like, when do I know enough is enough? When do I know that it's time for something different? Um, so, Abby, if you want to give a more in depth introduction of Lucy for everybody, that would be great.
Sure. Um, Lucy loves her new school. So just want to talk about, I guess, how it all started. She started in the public school when she was 3, and it pretty much was IEP meeting, just trying to get the services that she needed. So everything was pretty much a fight and a struggle. And, trying to provide research and here's, this is evidence-based information. So I'm not just saying this as a mom. A lot of times I would bring speech therapists that she worked with outside, and had to get an attorney at one point, to keep her, in the classroom and not in a self-contained, unit starting in kindergarten. Which in the public school, really, if you think about it, the 3 and 4-year-old classes are self-contained units because in order to get there, you have to have an IEP. So,
Huh.
it's really kind of, you just kind of start out there. And then that was when she was going into kindergarten. That was, they wanted to put her into what they called the units or the resource room, where basically she would just be in the resource room all day. She might get to go to specials, but that doesn't mean she'd be at specials with her own peers. And basically, our district thought that it, based on what was written in her IEP, those were the only things that they needed to teach her. So if it was, most of them were not academic based. So then I began to put academic based goals for her IEP, since they only thought that they had to do what was in the IEP.
Huh.
So, and Lucy really enjoyed and did well with her peers. So she was more apt to work for peers, and she likes being around all children. So that really was, one of the things that if you're going to learn how to be in society, you have to actually be in society. And for kids, society is in the classroom with their typical peers, not in a room where it's just, maybe they're kids, maybe they're not kids. Some are verbal, some are not verbal. Um, a lot probably have behavior issues. So, like I could tell when she would be in the autism unit because she would come with those behaviors.
Uh,
So, and that sort of thing. So, after battling with the school for 7 years, um, and ended up just having to take her out because it was, meeting with the school at least once a month, and there really was no progress. Lucy was not happy. They were not treating her very nice. They were not treating her like a human being. So it just came time to pull her out of school altogether. And then we came with an opportunity to actually send her to a Catholic school, which it's what I wanted to do all along, but it just wasn't something that most Catholic schools will accept kids with disability. So she was homeschooled for a little bit, and then last year she started St. Teresa and was there full time. And the transformation that took place 1 year's time, as bad as it was in the public school, it's as good as it was at the Catholic school. So she just, they treated her like a person, and they accepted who she was. They didn't try to fix her. She's not broken. She just needs to be, met where she is. And
right.
so that's kind of been, she met a lot of great friends at her new school. Do you like friends at your new school, Lucy? What about your teachers? Yeah. Yeah. And what was your favorite subject? Math. Math. Which her math teacher would be so impressed because she hated math. And would do any math. And now you're doing some addition problems and some subtraction problems. Yeah.
How cool.
And what else do you like about school? Lunch. Do you like, what else about school? Like lunch and math. What else? What? Lunch. You do really like lunch. Yeah. And sometimes you'll stay. Yeah, you pack your lunch.
Huh. So, Lucy, can we show a few pictures that your mom sent so we can show people? Would that be okay with you?
Show pictures from school. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. And you can be the narrator. Is this in your backyard?
Where is this, Lucy? Jill. Dan Jill, she lives next door, huh?
Ah,
So that's at Jill's house.
all right. I know you have a lot of cousins.
Yeah.
Oh, and look here.
Who are these people? Who's this? Teacher. Yeah. Where's Arnie? Where's Larry? I'll miss Herndon. Yeah, where is she? She's here.
So you have such wonderful teachers, and I'm so happy that this school has been such a great fit for you. Let's see what comes next here.
Say they wore those. They all bought those shirts for World Down Syndrome Day, and they
All right.
that day.
Oh, look.
Yeah.
How cool.
So they bought those to wear for, that was
My God.
Yeah. Tell them about this. Honey. Yeah, Rosemary Clooney. Was that your wax museum presentation? Yeah.
Huh.
And when they came, when everybody walked around, what did they do? Push a button. Push the button, and then you used your iPad. Yeah, your iPad. And what did your iPad have on? It's Connie. Yeah. Connie. Yeah, all Rosemary Clooney's information.
Huh.
one of her songs that had Come On to My House,
Huh.
where she was born, some of her songs, where she was born, what year she died, and then who she was, her nephew who became famous, George Clooney.
Oh, that's right. George Clooney. I forget about that connection. Huh.
Yeah. So all the fourth graders did a wax museum. So they all had some famous Kentuckian. Okay. Wait, let's see. Is there one more picture? Is that all of it?
I think that was our last. Oh no, yes, we got
What
this
was
one.
this? What's this picture? Fun battling. And what are all these books? But how do I know? Are these all the books that people donated money and then we bought? Yeah. Books about diversity and inclusion? Yeah. And then there's a special section in the library? Yeah. Yeah. And then we tried to pick some because they are big AR readers at our school. So we tried to pick some that were AR.
Right. Well, and I just, I love I see lots of familiar books here. And I was asking Abby before we got on um, if she has a list of books, if anybody would like a list of the books. And this was like one of your World Down Syndrome Day activities.
Yeah. So for World Down Syndrome Day, we were going to donate 21, but then we ended up, I think it was like 27 or 28. Let's help ourselves. But so we donated those, and then they did a bunch of activities. Are you all done? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Do you want to tell us what your favorite thing about your school is, and then you can go downstairs? Yeah. What's your favorite?
Okay, let me get to post. No, wait, let me stop this slide so we can see you better.
What's your favorite thing about your new school? Oh, yeah, St. Trees. Tree. Yeah. What's your favorite thing? What? Lunch. What else? The park. Yeah. You like your teachers and friends? Yeah.
I know. It's so nice when you have good friends at school, huh? That makes school more fun.
Yeah. Friends fun. All right. You want to tell them bye? All right.
Thanks for being here, Lucy.
Say
Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, I know when you were talking about her first starting at St. Teresa's, and just, I mean, it didn't take long for you to see the enormous difference between the school that you had left. So can you just, I don't know, the culture, the feeling, like how would you describe St. Teresa's?
Well, I mean, all this, like, they just kind of meet all the students where they are. So, and they're not trying to change any students. They embrace who they are and just try to get them to their best self, I feel like. So it's not like, you have to fit in this square box or else, this is the way that we do it. This is the only way that we do it. Even though we're supposed to offer all these accommodations, which, she had about a 22, 24 page IEP at the public school. They don't do IEPs at the private school. It's called something else. I can't remember what the name.
Yeah, but some individual support plan.
Yeah. So it's literally like one page.
Huh.
So, and it's not like bullet pointed out that says like, she needs large print. You need to use all forms of communication, blah, 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 like it said. And then, basically, none of it was done. It's like, oh, she can't use a calculator. Well, you're using a calculus calculator. She's, 10. So, just a lot of things that you had to fight about at the public school. It's like, I don't want to say it's common sense, but they're, like oh, we have this basic calculator that we're having her use. It's big since we know that doesn't like to wear glasses and she has, vision issues. So most things, it's like they're just already one step ahead, but they also like when we met and we talked like over the summer before school started, when they were setting up their classroom, the teacher let her come in and help set up the classroom. She met us at the park one day. One of the assistants met us for ice cream one day. So just making an effort to build a relationship with her. And it was kind of like, okay, so we're basically the first quarter, we're trying to feel things out. Let's build relationships, not push too hard, but not also, like also expecting her to do stuff, but knowing when things are too hard and giving her an alternate assignment or, modifying assignments and things like that. But whereas at the beginning of the school year, she wasn't really willing to write or type anything. Like she would write a few words, maybe her name. But like yesterday, she actually typed 2 5-word sentences on her iPad yesterday for
Wow.
OT. So, like she's
That
making like,
is
whereas it would be like she would have like there were sheets that had all this stuff on it by Christmas time where there was like, probably like 40 math problems on it where they were, plus and minus. And I was like, she never would have attempted to even do that.
kind right.
Finished it. It did, like at the end, she was like, oh, so much, whatever. But she did actually like, it was like, okay, let's do it. Um, and things like that. So, I mean, like stuff that she never would have been able to even do. And I think just like that presumed competence. So, I mean, with her speech apraxia and things like that, they have worked hard about like making sure that she gets picture options where she can point to things or using um, like her talk touch for like saying the words, like that type of stuff. And then we used Clicker Writer some for writing activities where she can just pull the words down and it writes this, writes the sentence essentially. So she doesn't have to type out every word because she couldn't do that. And then just making sure the sentences are, short enough and compact enough that she doesn't get frustrated with that too. So kind of just stepping it. So like, whereas the rest of the kids might be writing like 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs, she's writing like 5 sentences that are pre-populated where she's just pulling them down in her talk touch or the clicker app. So they did a great job of having her. And I mean, I would, like program a lot of the stuff in for them, which was no big deal. But even that, like I set up a time for the rep for her AAC device to come in and met with the staff because obviously they've never used it before. And they did a training and, used it and that sort of thing. So like reading mastery, we programmed some of like the sounds in so cause she'll just play it over and over. So that kind of helped her with the sounds because she also has hearing difficulty. So like hearing it multiple times does help too. So it just was a totally different, like they really wanted her to be successful. And I did not feel that at her other school. Like
Right.
they want her to be at their school. They think that she brings something to their school. So I think that's probably the biggest difference that I notice is, when you truly want someone to be there, you try to make things work.
Right.
So, I mean, and I think she also feels that. So, I mean, like, she really likes all of her teachers that she, no, you can't.
Mhm.
Cool. You're sit right here with me. I'm cool. You can't go to the pool yet.
That pool is calling, right?
Yeah. Um, so I think that's like the biggest takeaway. And I do think that like and I did feel like that. It's like I was just hitting my head against the wall at the other place because it wasn't what they weren't going to change. It's hard to change people's mindsets.
Yes. Yes,
So,
sure.
and I wish that they could see how successful that she's been in just 1 year. Cause even like the speech and OT who she's been like outside who she's been working with, they're like, it's insane, like the night and day difference of
Huh.
how like how happy she is now, like how confident she is, how she doesn't fight about doing like, how she's just like, no, because that's what she used to say. Like by the time she left the public school, if you asked her to do it, it was no, no.
Yeah.
And now she's like, okay, let's do this, let's do that. I mean, she's, obviously to if it's too hard, she might still she's just no, she's not gonna do it. Um, but to that to, she's pretty willing to do stuff. And I have to say that all the school kind of talked before Lucy and some other children came, they kind of talked about like, kids, you might have kids that are, coming in that have different abilities and, like, here's how we should, you know, be acting and treating all kids and that sort of thing. So I think they kind of prepared all of the student body before
Huh.
came. So, and just basically accepting kids for who they are. I mean, everybody has. It's not like it's made to be a big deal, you know.
Right, right.
It's kind of like you're left-handed, you're right-handed, she has Down syndrome, this person has autism, this person has cerebral palsy. That's just part of who they are. And it might mean that, they need a little bit of help walking the stairs or, like she might get overwhelmed. So like, um, maybe she just needs a break or whatever. So like the kids are also good about, um, because she has speech apraxia. So sometimes finding what she wants to say. So like we were on a field trip and that they were all talking about what song is your favorite song, and she's like Taylor Swift, because she loves Taylor Swift. I mean, that's who she was for Halloween. But they were like, "What song?" And then she said Taylor Swift again because she's like, and okay, and I mean, she knows all the songs. So then one of, this is an 8-year-old, and he said, "Well, what about he named like 3 songs, and because it was like, well, which let me help you out here. So I mean,
Right.
even as an 8-year-old, he's already caught on to yes, she knows the songs, but she doesn't always have the words to say them. So like, he was helping her out just by saying, well, what about, blah, 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 shake it all up or, whatever 3 songs that he said. And then she said, this is my favorite song. So
Sure.
I've just noticed like just even like watching them interact, like they don't overhelp what they usually sometimes you can have a little bit of overhelping, um, but usually it's the right, like, help her to the fact of what she needs help with, but not still letting her do what she can do. Because that
Yeah, and I think that that is so nice because so many times when we think about kids being included, we our minds kind of always go to adult support. What adult support will this kid need? And when you have that culture of we all support each other whenever we need to and whenever the person needs some support, and it comes from, yeah, her classmates. I mean, what a difference. And just thinking of that new generation of kids that,
Well,
they go ahead.
and they really did do a great job of that. Like, typically they only let like two kids go to the bath or one kid go to the bathroom at a time when they send them individually. But this year they started doing like two kids at a time. So then she had a
Mhm.
buddy to make sure that she made it so they didn't make it different, but it was
Wow.
different than what they had done in the past. But it was really just to make sure like she made it all the way down the hall, made it all the way back. It wasn't that they were
Right.
necessarily, but I mean, all the kids kind of do keep an eye out. It's not that. So, I mean, there is that. It is great for peer support. And I mean, that's really, truly when she gets out into the community, the kids that she's going to school with will be like, oh, I went to school with a child with Down syndrome. And, like, oh, so I'm not going to be scared. I'm going to know, like, granted, not all individuals with Down syndrome are the same, but then they don't have to be, oh, I'm so, so scared about this. Because I feel like a lot of adults, if they've never been around
Right.
people with disabilities, they don't really understand and they might be a bit fearful about it. So I think it is great that peers can be their support because really and truly that's what they want. They don't want adult support all the time. I mean, sometimes they do, but most of the time it's really, and I think the school has done a great job of doing as much peer support as possible, just like, anybody else. Your typical peers are already offering each other support,
Right.
not really.
Well, and I love how they changed the for the bathroom, so it's because that's what I think as kids get older, it's always like, I don't want to do something different. I don't want to stand out, and so then when the rule is, yeah, if you want, two kids can go at the same time. And it doesn't mean you always, the other kids don't have to, but so yeah, I just love how they've been forward thinking. And um so so what does the school do as far as like professional development? I mean, because that's a lot for a staff to take on, as far as, truly including a variety of kids with disabilities that typically haven't been there. Um, so yeah.
So the Fire Foundation has offered like some module type training that's offered through
Right.
like the Notre Dame um,
Oh, that's
college.
right.
So some of them have done those
Right.
modules, and then like I said, like they did the AAC one that I set up that was geared towards her. So most several of the staff members did that. And then this year I'm going to try to set up for the clicker writer, which is the other
Oh,
end,
cool.
for them to do that one. And then, like I usually will share a lot of like the inclusive stuff that I find with them. So some of them will watch that. Um, but the school tries to do like for their professional development, like something of, like an inclusive training and stuff like that. And then I guess when staff asks about it, so like this year we've been trying to like, because Lucy will change classes. So
Yeah.
the teachers that she didn't have, they tried to be bringing her in and talking to those teachers. So like next year she won't be.
Oh,
So
good. Huh. Yeah. With that just sounds so, and it just, yeah, the day and night difference between the schools. Um, And yeah, and I think that's the thing. I know as an advocate, I'll have a lot of parents ask me, like, well, what's the best state for inclusion? Or, in this state, what's the best district? And, the thing is, you can move your family from here to there. And what used to be an inclusive school just got a new assistant superintendent. And guess what? The district doesn't have those values anymore. So that's the hard part too, I think, of for parents that are in a school situation where there's just no movement. And not only that, but your child's being harmed, right? Emotionally, whatever. And then it's like, what choices do I have now? You know?
Yeah, I mean, it is really hard because I guess you don't want to think that it could be that bad. Um, and I don't think that people purposely do harm. I mean, there probably are some, but I don't think that's most people's intent. I just think that there's a belief that a lot of people just don't think that individuals with disability have much that they can actually achieve. So I
Yeah.
think the bar is set so low, like it's more like, oh, we just have to babysit these kids. It's not like, hey, if we can get this individual to their best self, then their quality of life is going to be a lot different. But I don't think that and I think that's for kids with disabilities and typical kids.
Oh,
Because
right.
I can say, even for my typical kid that's transferred academically, she has, you know, soared this year. I mean, like
Time.
how much she has learned and lost her self esteem and that sort of thing. Way better.
Huh.
Um, So I just think that when you give kids, you know, the ability to achieve, and in a way that it's kind of self paced, but not self paced, like it's on their pace. And I feel like sometimes in the public school, at least the one that they were in, is if you are not a behavior, then nobody's really paying attention to you.
Huh.
So
Right.
you're not, and if you are a behavior, some of the majority of the behaviors I feel like are not necessarily staff um, caused, but environment or staff caused.
Huh.
Because a lot of the things that were happening to Lucy in the public school and then it was like, well, I can't believe she did this. And it's like, well, I can, because if you treated me like that
Right.
and
That. Yeah.
had zero behaviors in her new environment like that. So
See.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's really like you just when you treat students in a fashion that is, when you're putting them in a room and, you know, locking them, leaving them in there, or taking adults and dragging them from one place to the other, you're just not going to have a good outcome. Like, no one deserves to be treated like that. So,
Right. Right. Well, and I want to also say, if people are watching this live or on the replay, say hi to us so we can say hi back. And also questions you have, or what have been some aha moments that you've had listening to Lucy and her mom Abby talk about finding the place where your child not only has that sense of belonging, but it's actual belonging happening, right? And people having high expectations. So have you, and the people that are here with us live, here's a fan. I love Lucy. We love Lucy.
and
So I'm assuming that might be somebody too, huh?
yeah,
Abby?
yep.
Thanks for being here, Kim.
Thank you. But yeah, I mean, it's been a night and day difference. I mean, it truly, the school is definitely a special place. I mean, they really care about all the kids, and all the kids really do care about each other, which is, you don't always,
Right,
you don't always get to have that. So, and then
right.
it really does start with the principal that we have, and I mean, then our
Yes, yes.
teachers.
Oh, I know that leadership makes such a difference. And Lucia is from Oklahoma, and she says your story is so inspiring. And I have to put my glasses on here. Katie, she says it has been a true blessing to have Ruthie at our school. Yeah, and that shows you that when people see each other as, this wonderful person, and can see the whole child versus just test scores or, with a list of what they can't do. So thank you, Katie, for seeing Lucy as a blessing at your school. And I'm sure other students and families feel the same too.
Well, and I have to say that the first meeting, we had to meet with the public school and they had to read her IEP. And our
Uh,
classroom teacher was like, "Do you really say this about students?" Like, she was like, "This doesn't sound anything like Lucy." And even if it does, she was like, "This doesn't help me in any way on how to
right.
educate her," which is the same thing that I've been saying for years. Like, so I thought it was interesting. Mom, yeah. Thanks. So I thought that was interesting. It was like, oh, okay, I'm in the right place. These people, yes, they think the same way that I think. So, I mean, it's way better for my health and way better for Lucy's health that we learn.
I bet. I bet. I bet. Yes. And you can be the multitasking mom.
But yes, I wish everyone has a school like we found for all of them.
Yes. 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 Um, and I hope that St. Teresa can also connect with other Catholic schools. So I bet they're connected to, and I always forget the name of her group, but she's an parent. She works at UC Davis in California, and her son was included. College. She does a lot. She has a special group just for Catholic schools. Do you know what I'm talking about? What I can't think of her name
Okay.
or
They just started what's called the Fire Foundation, which is across the United States. But like we just started our own, but we're trying to really St. Teresa's the first school to take on multiple students.
right.
They're, taking more students this year. Um, so it's, they're trying to learn as they go. They're the pilot. I mean, I guess they're the pilot school.
Uh-huh.
And some of the other groups are, trying to figure it out, which I mean, it is a lot to take on and you do have to think outside of the box. And, you do, like you said, I feel like the most thing is like training and you have to be open to, want to try things. I
Right.
sure, like, I'm sure the teacher that took Lucy on this year was a little bit intimidated, but, she said by the end of the year, she was like, I learned so much from Lucy and
Uh,
I'm glad that I had the opportunity to have her in my class. It was, I really enjoyed it. We learned a lot and she learned a lot. I mean, she really did. And, like, she was like, by the end, she goes, this is what we're going to do for her test, you know.
uh,
So, like, she kind of give me a heads up and we would I would either modify it or sometimes she would say, "This is how I'm going to do it." So we just kind of worked together to make sure that it was, something that she could either manipulate and put the words with pictures because they learned like all the states and things like that. So I put some of the stuff in her clicker. Um, and we did it that way where she just, sometimes it was multiple choice and then other times. So we kind of played around with it to see which was best for her. Um, so it was nice to have that relationship of she would ask, like she would ask me, we would kind of I'd come up with something, we'd try it, and then it would be like, "Okay, that worked great," or, "I didn't think that was so good." Of course. So, I mean, it wasn't like, oh, like, she wasn't afraid to say, "That didn't work," like,
Oh, cool.
like
Yeah, because it is like
like,
a lot of
as I
trial
said,
and
I
error.
try stuff all the time, and then I'm like, "Yeah, that wasn't good, let's do something else." Like, it's alright to not get it right every single time. You're never gonna get it right every single so
Oh, exactly.
so
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, that was, which is something that I never had public school. Like, it was like, "Don't talk to us."
I know. So just having that staff that's receptive, right? And open to looking at a different way of doing things. Um, so I want to thank you so much for coming on today, Abby, and also thank Lucy because the reality is there are hard choices that we have to make as parents sometimes, right? And it's sometimes hard to be spinning in that place of should I keep going? Should I keep pushing? Should we do something else? Um, and I'm so happy for you, Lucy, and your family, Abby, that St. Teresa's school was right there and it was kind of perfect timing, right? They were just looking at how they were going to be, being more inclusive and you were looking for an inclusive place,
It
you
it
know.
was it was definitely God's intervention.
Yes,
For
yes, yes. So thanks so much. And yeah, I think
helping us.
what you share here, what you share in our Connecting for Change group, it helps all of us as parents to be connected and then also to realize the importance of building those relationships with teachers, principals, other people at school, right?
Yes, it takes a village, so
Yes, yes. Well, thank you again.
thank
And
you for having
yeah, it was fun. And stay tuned. Watch our Art of Advocacy Facebook page, and we'll be sending out new announcements for some upcoming events. So stay tuned, and we shall see you.